Hey guys, how's it going? Back for another one. The narc is gone again. I didn't get to jump on right away, so I'm kind of, I don't know. There. So, I was editing because that's all I can do while he's here. You know, I can sit here and edit tomorrow's video or edit today's video, whatever it is, and then I have to wait until he leaves. But I was editing a particularly long one. Took me a while, and I just got done with that. So there's still some daylight. I can still do some recording, and I actually, are you able to? No, because if I'm in the sunlight, that like severely, that makes all the background look all kinds of dark. But if I come up closer than the sunlight, that's when it like comes into view. So, I don't know. I go like this. I mean, there's this band of sunlight I was trying to be in, but then it makes everything else go away. Well, you have to let me know what you prefer. Like this, I don't know. But I had a question for, like, maybe not as much of a question as a inquiry or a request for more elaboration on, we were talking about commerce in the new earth and how that's going to work, how it's going to look for the individual person, like not just, oh, collectively this is how things are going to be. How is it going to actually look for like individual people, and different tools that we could use to ensure its effectiveness. Like, one suggestion that I had seen in a video was the use of the Big Brother surveillance system that we are currently in right now. We're seeing a huge AI wave, massive surveillance, which is actually the data centers that you hear your president talking about right now. All these data centers, there's a big investment in data centers. There's all this investment going on in jobs and building and data centers. What we're not hearing is that these are literally surveillance centers. They're not just, do you think it's just there to power ChatGPT? Do you really think he gives a flying fuck about that? It's not about ChatGPT. It's not about Grok. It's about, even if it was, why the hell are we concerned about investment in that? Why should we be spending money on that? No. If it is so valuable for us, the outside companies will invest in it, and then if it is valuable, they'll try to sell it to us. What they're trying to get us to do is pay for something and then find out, that's the idea of the AI, but that's not even what it's all about. It's about surveillance. These data centers are about surveillance collection points, like hubs for processing all of the facial recognition cameras, all of the location data, all of the audio that it's hearing from your smart devices, like literally everything. That's what's going into these data centers. And they're trying to put them up across the United States. Literally in my state alone, they already have a big one, and they're trying to put them up every place where they feel it's either strategically located or will garner the least amount of resistance, informed resistance against it. So if they can slide it in there without people realizing, and then in 5 or 10 years, all of a sudden your electric bill goes up, or your water bill, all of a sudden you don't have water available in that area, or whatever, it eats fresh water, because of the cooling systems, and it's just an energy drain. I did hear things about like putting in their own, or having it be required that they produce their own electricity and then sell the excess. They could potentially sell the excess back to the grid, but what kind of costs are we going to see there? Are they going to be taxed? Or, there's all this incentive to put them in, but they're trying to sell us the incentive, but it's really for oppression. Anyway, it goes back to surveillance. So taking these systems that they're trying to build currently to use against us, but one argument was made that if it's used consciously in a conscious, forward-thinking, new earth, awareness, awakened society, it can be used for the good. Another aspect of that is you hear a lot about what's going on in other countries, especially most recent is the spit it out, social credit scores. Now, I've heard this talked about, all the way back to when did the Chinese actually roll that out? Like, I've been hearing it talked about, I swear, back to like the Trump's first presidency. They were talking about it just happening or going on in China. We were just starting to find out about it. But we could use, like, it's coming here. They're putting in the AI data centers. It's going to happen. They're counting on our ignorance to allow the AI data center to go in, a mass surveillance system. And what do you think is going to happen after that? Social credit scores. Where have you been? Like, they're talking about in Israel, the monitoring systems that they have for people. They're basically using themselves as a model for how to control and contain the populations. Like, cops can bring it up on their phone. I think it's called a blue wolf. There's a red wolf and a blue wolf system, and they can bring it up on their phone, where you've been, what you like, what you're into, where you've talked to, all your location data, all your shopping, your habits, all the data they can. And it's come out that governments are purchasing data from these data brokering from the apps on your phone, from all of the terms and agreements that you agree to, are mining your data, and then government is literally purchasing it from them, and they're not even hiding it anymore. They're coming right out and saying it. Yes, we are. So, all of that being used now in routine, like, policing. Like, when they can cops bringing it up on their phone, and they can look at, oh, you've been doing this, you've been doing that, and all this stuff, and use it to oppress you even more. But in the end, we could really, I think, because commerce in the new earth, the way that's going to, I'm not going to project that it's going to be difficult, or it's going to be hard, or we're going to need to do it this way, or whatever at this point. What I'm trying to say is that there's going to be some apprehension to it, to the way that it needs to work energetically, and how it's going to differ from what people are used to right now. Like, right now, I had a really good question last night on this, and I spent a couple hours responding. I was worried that I'm talking, like, on TikTok, I was worried that they would limit my character amount, because I typed it up in a different application and then I copy pasted. And I was like, are they going to chop my... But no, they took... But the thing was long when it was done. Anyway, it was a very good question. It was about teaching people to be responsible with their money, teaching them money skills, money management, stuff like that. If you lose your wealth somehow through bad decisions and stuff, what things are going to be in place for... Are we just going to let it happen again, let it, or are there going to be systems that come along and then become predatory based on people that don't have these skills? And so it was like looking at a new system, acknowledging that the current systems need to be abolished and just like not just completely abolished, just don't use them anymore. But like, what are we going to do to replace them? So I had to really think, because I hadn't really considered, well, it's not, you're not, it was really hard to frame because it was a questionable currency, and really there isn't going to be currency like the way we know it. There's not going to be like ownership in the way that we know it. There's not going to be like hoarding in the way that we understand. Like, there's a lot of scary terms out there for what this is going to be. And these terms end up scaring a lot of people away. They hear it and they're like, oh, no, I don't want nothing to do with that, because they believe the propaganda and the lie machine that goes along with it. As soon as you say one of these terms, you're immediately labeled as a certain person that doesn't know what they're talking about. And so I'm not even going to go down that road, because it's not that. So here's what I responded with. Okay. If I were to ask you what the new earth consciousness, what that world looks like, I would assume, for argument's sake, that you would say up there on near the top of the list would be everyone is awakened, right? And because that's just a given. You're going to have the unawakened, the people that choose not to awaken, but they aren't going to be running the show the way they are right now, with their ignorance and their fear-based policies. And the farther and farther that we get, the closer and closer we get to embracing the new earth consciousness, is going to be the farther we get away from those fear-based systems and the ignorance-based control systems, right? So like right now, our monetary system is very much a fear-based, like people approach the monetary system with fear. Fear for that it's not going to be there unless you actively pursue and take as much as you can while you can, and be smart with it, or it's not going to be there tomorrow and you could run out. So you gotta save, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And all these things, these fear-based, finite things. I might just have a little orange. So, right now, the way people approach money is from a lack, scarcity, and fear-based. It's a tendency to hoard, to save, to spend judiciously. Because we're in competition with each other for it. For who can have the most amount of beans. And right now, we have one individual in particular that just rose above the rest of us in declaring himself a trillionaire. It's absolutely disgusting. Especially considering where his money is going primarily. How is there profit in launching rockets to where? To Mars, to put stuff up there, all this fuel that's being burnt, all these rockets. Yeah, they're reusable, but how is there profit? How is there that much profit? It's like there's no risk anymore. Like, you know, I made an argument in one of my other videos. Look what happened to Howard Hughes. His passion projects bankrupted him. But I digress. I don't think Musk should be bankrupted. I'm just curious, and I find it questionable how the hell he went from, what, a couple of $100 billion, and now Trump's been president for almost a year, not even a year, but almost a year, and now all of a sudden he's a trillionaire. You don't see something funny about that? There's nothing funny about it. It's disgusting. But anyway, it just goes to show how we're all in competition with each other to collect as many beans as we can and have as many as we can throughout our life. It's a competition because we feel that if we don't do that for ourselves, there's not going to be any available for us. And that's a scarcity mindset. That's a lack-based consciousness to be in. And part of awakening into the new earth consciousness is awakening, which involves dissolving the ego. The ego that would tell you all of these things, that we need to compete with each other, that we need to have the more beans, that happiness is only achieved through such and such and such and such, whatever you've been programmed, you know. If you're awakened, you know. And if you're likely awakened if you're watching this, especially if you're still watching. But it's the doubt that we have in our, you know, yeah, maybe it is doubt. I don't know. There's probably a better word for it, but the lack of faith that we have in our fellow person, our fellow human, to be honest. You know, if you put yourself out there like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna ask for any any of the monopoly money for anything that I do. You know, if you put yourself out there like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna ask for any of the monopoly money for anything that I do, and I'm just gonna put it on good faith that everything I need, no one else is gonna ask for the monopoly money anymore. We're just gonna go moneyless. Instead of going cashless, let's just go moneyless. No more monetary system. You know, it's just like the money thing, is that it takes other people declaring value in it in order for it to work. In order for green paper money to be valuable, someone else has to recognize its value, right? Which by itself, it's worthless. And when it was backed with gold, it stood for something. It was a symbol. Right now, it's not even a symbol. It's just an idea. It's an idea that keeps getting inflated and inflated and inflated the more and more they print, and basically fucking us over in the process. So, you know, when you get one of them clementines that's just like dialed in, the perfect balance, you just got to be grateful for those, because they're like so good when that happens. But anyway, so that's what our current monetary system is relying on, is that someone else is going to find the monopoly money valuable at some point and be able to give up whatever they're giving up in exchange for it. My idea is, well, it's really more than an idea, but fuck, I just can't even think with this orange right now. Just give me a second here. I'm gonna enjoy this. You get some that barely taste like anything, and then you get these ones that are just, you don't want it to end. They're so fucking good. I wish they all could be like that. But anyway, okay. So there's going to be some apprehension to it, that apprehensiveness to it, that everyone needs to be on board. Obviously, if you're fulfilling a need, a societal need, say, pick one. Like, you could look at skill-based stuff, like whatever is happening in the world right now. There might be some things that go away, like maybe the restaurant at large goes away. We don't go out to eat anymore because we don't feel the narcissistic need to be served, and we can get by on our own, and we don't need the gluttonous tendencies to indulge in public displays of eating. Maybe eating is a different consciousness in the new earth, you know. So maybe restaurants just go away. So what happens to the waitresses and stuff? Well, waitresses, you know, maybe they're into like growing plants, or you know, not collecting, but like building, like crafts and stuff. You know, maybe that's their thing. They make beautiful things, artistic plant type things, or anything. Maybe that's their passion. That's what they love to do. But all they can really do right now is be someone's waitress in order to get more of that green stuff that everyone is so obsessed with. That's an example. That's just people are going to be looking for examples, and I can't just sit there and be confined by giving all kinds of examples, because it's literally everything in this world as we know it is going to need to be fulfilled to an extent. Like I said, some things will go away with the new awareness and consciousness of the collective, but until they do, they're going to need to be fulfilled. Which does lead into like the protections that we're going to have in place early on to make sure that the transition is smooth, that people don't get screwed over, and people that might say, okay, you know, I don't need to always seek the green stuff anymore. I'm not going to be addicted to the green stuff. Let's do this energetically. Let's do this on good faith. Let's move forward with an energetic exchange and an understanding and a knowing that my needs will be met by the system, because what is meeting my needs, their needs will be met further on down the line, and so and so. So we all take care of each other, right? You know, this is like the danger area of that dirty word again, creeping into my intrusive thoughts, but I'm not going to say it because it's just not that. There's elements of it, but it's not that. There's more. It's more to it than that. It's that without the currency. So it's just your energetic presence alone that is the currency. And the exchange happens in the transfer of stewardship of what you seek from the, let's call it the vendor, the facilitator of it, like the one that's going to be transferring his stewardship, their stewardship to you. This is another good one. This is like mid-grade. That last one was better, and there are even less flavorful ones, but this one's like right there in the middle. So, how do you get someone to transfer their stewardship of something over to you? You ask for it. You express an interest. You say, hi, I'm here. I am me. I am. I would like. You express intent. That's it. Someone had to go out and pick the orange. They were happy to do so because that is them fulfilling a need for humanity. Maybe they don't pick oranges every day. Maybe on one day they said they saw a big group of people who were getting together to go pick a bunch of oranges, and they said, hey, we need workers. We need people to help us pick oranges. And the guy said, I'm not doing anything in particular. I could go help you pick oranges. And he goes and helps them for a day. And maybe tomorrow he's doing something else. Maybe not even gardening. Maybe his real skill and passion is something else entirely. But he just decided to fulfill a need in society. That's what I'm sort of talking about here, is that you can have your, like I'm a skilled, so like what I can do on a day-to-day basis is fulfill my skill, which would fulfill a huge need within my community. But I'm not the only one that has this skill. So like my skill might not always be needed, even though like it's a widespread need. It might not always be needed from day to day, but I might always be having the capacity to help the collective. Maybe I go pick the oranges. It might not always be needed from day to day, but I might always be having the capacity to help the collective. Maybe I go pick the oranges. Now, what about skill that takes learning? Well, that's where you get into, like, I could take on an apprentice. Or, like, say I wanted to become a dentist. Obviously, that's, like, going to take probably years, maybe not. Maybe because we got schools, out of the way. Maybe the training of being a dentist only takes, about a year or two, and then you're well on your way to being able to be a dentist. But in order to get there, you would have to, like, find a dentist that's willing to train you and work with that dentist and offer your help to him. And therefore you become the, eventually. Oh, I dig that back. That last, goodness. That might have been top shelf. I think I was selling it short. That was a good orange. But anyway, acquiring the skills to fulfill your passions. And it won't be like in competition. Like, whatever it is, literally, like, you don't have to compete with other people for things in the new earth. Like, it'll be very living in the moment, living in the now based things. And I drew this scenario for someone of, waking up in the morning, enjoying your morning, breathing in the fresh air, then all of a sudden having the inspiration, being compelled to taking a stroll down to the city center, and say you live, right a block away, you just walk, you just leave the house. You're not attached to your material things. You don't have to worry about having enough cigarettes with you, having your phone on you, having, like, enough money, or making breakfast first, or if you got kids at home and stuff, obviously you got responsibilities. But, like, my point is, you just get up and go. You don't think about the things that attach us to being caught up in their different attachments. Just, you go. And then along the way you think, oh, it's morning, I think I'd like a little pick-me-up. You smell one of the people downtown is making coffee, and they are offering coffee. So you say, I'd like a coffee, thank you. That's the exchange. Your intention to have the coffee and your gratitude for having the coffee. That's it. Then the coffee is given. Whoever made the coffee is going to have their needs met when that time should arise. But for now, they decided, I'm going to make coffee downtown in this city center. And then go down a little further, there's someone selling, or not selling, but offering croissants. They felt compelled to use their skills to bake these croissants for anyone that might want them. And maybe there's only 10 of them, and you just happen to be walking by at the right time, and they just came out and they're fresh. You say, I'd like one of those. One is offered to you. You're so grateful. Now you have a coffee and a croissant. Walk a little further, there's yogurt, parfait thing, whatever, there's your whole breakfast. You didn't even have to worry about it. You just left, you went on your walk, you're enjoying nature, Gaia, everyone you meet along the way. It's a huge energetic certain words there that could be used to describe the energy, but I'll hold back. I'll hold off on that just because like certain ears are gonna hear these videos and I'm not trying to give them ammunition at all, which is why I won't say the word that the Knights of Knee are not supposed to say, you know, or not, you know. Anyway, there's energy being transferred there at a you know, very healthy rate. And that's how it works. That's what the transfer of energetic currency looks like. It's the intention and the gratitude for it. It's the law of attraction based, bringing things into your life, bringing things into existence through sacred remembering. Like, that's all stuff that can happen on the way higher advanced levels. But just for speaking along, you know, the general awakened or the baseline awakened society perspective, that's exactly what that looks like. So like, you're gonna ask, well, what about laziness or sloth, or, you know, people that want to take advantage of the system somehow? Like, there's got to be protections there for it to not get abused. What if someone comes by and says they want 3 croissants because they want, you know, their boss to have one, or their wife to have one, whatever it is? And well, no, because at that rate, it's on an individual basis. It's whoever's there at that time. It's your experience in the now, because in an awakened society, everyone is experiencing the now. They're not thinking about the past. They're not thinking about the future. They're in amazing, blissful gratitude for the now experience. So you're not thinking about that other person that might need the croissant. You only need one for yourself. You're not thinking about, because that other person is following their bliss on that day. Like, they're not concerned about, if you got them a croissant and then showed up hours later with it, they'd be like, why'd you get that for me? I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't need it. My intention was not to have a croissant today. Why did you? That's like a form of projecting also, that you thought someone else would need. Or you just like to abuse, like in ways that could be abuse. Maybe you got 3 because you wanted one tomorrow morning. Now you're hoarding. Now you're saying, oh, these croissants are so good, I want one every day. Well, yeah, you'd love to have one every day, but it's the same thing with the oranges. You can't always have a perfect orange. You can't always have that one that just dialed, because then you wouldn't appreciate the other ones, or, you know, you wouldn't appreciate them as much for not having the ones that aren't as good. Or the mornings where you don't get a croissant and you are a little bit hungry. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe all you got was the yogurt, or maybe all you got was the coffee, and now you go on up to lunch like that, basically fasting. But then the law of attraction brings you a beautiful lunch that now your body can absorb those nutrients even more fully than if you had gorged yourself at breakfast. So it's a in the now, in the bliss, living in the moment type of society, new earth consciousness that I'm talking about. There can't be abuse, because, well, 1, it just wouldn't be possible, and 2, you would be looked at so weird for not just being grateful for the one that is offered to you, the one croissant or the one coffee, that the one size. Like, if you're offered, you know, a tall and you really wanted a grande, it's whatever it is. That's what you're grateful for. And you use it to its fullest, and then you move on. So you got a tall coffee. Good. Because a grande would have been that much more sugar, that much more caffeine. You get a tall, you get that little that enjoyment, you move on to water. That's just what you do. So it's a in the now, in the bliss, living in the moment type of society, new earth consciousness that I'm talking about. There can't be abuse because, well, one, it just wouldn't be possible, and two, you would be looked at so weird for not just being grateful for the one that is offered to you, the one croissant or the one coffee, that the one size. Like if you're offered, a tall and you really wanted a grande, it's whatever it is. That's what you're grateful for. And you use it to its fullest. And then you move on. So you got a tall coffee. Good. Because a grande would have been that much more sugar, that much more caffeine. You get a tall, you get that enjoyment, you move on to water. That's just what you do. Because you're grateful for it. You're not thinking about anything else, how you're living outside of the now by imagining that you would want a bigger size, or that you would want a more quantity, or that you should take some home for later. Like, no, none of that. That is a lack, scarcity, fear-based mindset. None of that. So the way that the society works is that that'll be gone too, like completely. Speaking of coffee, so you ask, well, what motivates people to do these different things? What motivates the person to make the croissant? What motivates the person to pick the oranges? Well, we kind of hinted at that already. Like, it's fulfilling needs within society. It's networking with what you can offer and what you're seeking. Like, I'm not saying that everyone just doesn't have to worry about keeping food at home anymore because they can just go out and get it at any time they want, that it's just going to be available. I'm saying that, like, if you were downtown in a market square sort of situation, that's the sort of society that you could expect to see, that just things are freely offered because they're being made freely by people pursuing their bliss. There are people that love cultivating plants and trees and fruit-bearing trees, and they want to bring those trees and those fruits to other people for their enjoyment, and just for sake of their contribution to the collective humanity. Every need will be fulfilled. We don't need to be in competition with each other. We don't need to be in competition with the billionaires anymore. They're going to be in competition with us, because by doing it this way, we're declaring their old, archaic, slavery-based system no longer valid in the new earth. We're not in competition anymore. We're not chasing the precious metals or the monies or the king's gold or any of that shit anymore. We're not in competition. We're not made to feel like certain resources won't be made available to us. And in order to ensure that, to get back to the social credit score before I run out of time here, I might have to come back on and do a separate video. I'm already at 43. When they get too long, they're just impossible to edit because they're just so big. But I'll be breaking this one up for TikTok, so not too worried about it, but at the same time, it's getting there. Maybe I'll do that now. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I just had to check how much storage space I got left too, because doing these long videos, I not only can I can record to my limit, but then trying to edit and produce it, it would have to go straight on there with no editing. Otherwise, I need that much space plus a whole nother block of space on there. So I really got to be careful. But anyway, I'm back. And so now we're talking about this social credit score, how that can be used to facilitate the transition, the smooth transfer. And it can be used in a way that sort of monitors a person's use and tracks their ability to do amicable business with others in the transitioning society. So going from the monetary based currency to the energetic based stewardship, and in order to ensure that there's still fair treatment, the people who would maybe be questionable, maybe they haven't fully awakened yet, maybe they're in the early stages of awakening, so their integrity is going to have to be tracked somehow. And currently, the only way that I've seen so far is by a sort of like social credit score. Is how did you, what sort of comments did you make on social media? What type of person are you? What sort of business are you used to doing? What sort of a path are you on? How are you contributing to that? Are you following your bliss every day, or are you getting caught up? Are you still needing to heal from certain things, which means that you would be more likely to abuse others. If you have healing that needs to happen, you're still hurt. It's understandable, and we will, like, the society will help you, but we need to be aware of these things so that we can, and so that we don't end up getting hurt ourselves by another hurt person, right? So, like, we would use that as like a monitoring to monitor the healing, track the awareness and the awakened enlightenment level of the person, and to be able to understand exactly like how much can this person actually be trusted, to put it like in a non-woke nomenclature. But it could also be used as like my initial idea for the app, for the what you're offering to humanity, your skills, your abilities, your bliss, your passions, everything. Like, if you're a natural agrarian, green thumb sort of botanist, sort of botanical genius, and you just love plants, and that's the only thing you ever want to do, like, by all means, follow your bliss. But if you're a jack of all trades and you got a skill in this and a skill in that and a skill in that, and throughout the week you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, you just want to, and you're good at all of them, and you're effective, and people enjoy, people are grateful for your contribution, stuff like that. It really is up to the individual. It can be literally anything. But initially, you're going to have people who aren't skilled, and people who might feel they have nothing to offer, but they might just need to be coached and helped with that, helped to see how they can contribute in a meaningful way that is valuable to them and their growth and development, and valuable to the collective humanity. And people can be guided along by other awakened individuals. By us, we help people helping people, sort of thing. People can be guided along by other awakened individuals. By us, we help people helping people, sort of thing. There might be a little bit of growing pains along the way with that. Getting people to find their true passions and what they actually want to be doing, and fulfilling the need of society for these things. I can imagine if there's no one around to make coffee, or if there's not enough people making coffee in the morning, and my community is looking for coffee in the morning, and maybe they run out every single morning before I get down there because there's just not enough people making coffee. Maybe the next person I see that's unskilled, I could suggest that, hey, there is a need for more people making coffee during these hours right here. If you want to make one pot of coffee every day during these hours, be downtown at this time, and that would be fulfilling my need, and energetically it would be contributing to the collective. On the consciousness scale, I feel like we can track that ourselves by feeling the energy, feeling into the field, sensing someone else's just vibration and how alive they are inside. If they're not, on those lower level, those hurt frequencies, those fear, anger, sub 200 or whatever, 300 frequencies, we can feel that. And as long as your vibration is high, that's your currency, that's how wealthy you are. That's your abundance, is how high your vibration is, right? Like, that's the true exciting thing, is it's not even so much what you do, or that you're doing a certain thing, or that you're doing more than this person, or there's no competition. It literally is, how high is your vibration? Are you vibing so high that you're just like, people are so excited just to see you, that when the person making the croissant sees you and you say, hey, how are you doing? Oh my God, look at you, I'm so excited and everything. And they're so excited to give you their croissant because they want you to experience it and feel that joy and that love, like me eating that orange, just that passion, that, oh my God, that was so good. Thank you so much. And thank you, thank you, thank you. That is the exchange. People don't realize that that's effective. That gives people the motivation to do it. If I love making muffins. And I'm back, baby. I'm making muffins again. Fuck yeah. But if my muffins could go to more than just myself or the narc, and they could actually be appreciated, and I could get feedback from people that really know what they're talking about, not just like, it's good. Yeah. And then they don't eat the rest of them, or whatever. It just bump on a log type of. Oh, I was vibing so high when I was talking about that just before, but the minute I start talking about the narc, did you just see it? It's just like, oh fuck, I gotta get out of that. But anyway, with my skills, if I could make muffins for people and they could enjoy them like that, in that way, and that would be a thing, I would totally maybe I wouldn't make that my career, but I would love to do that on maybe 1 week out of the week, or 1 day out of the week. I'd do that. That'll be my thing. I make muffins today. I make like 2 or 3 batches, and when they're gone, they're gone. That's the sort of thing. Like, worldwide, we can work within our communities, our smaller communities, where we are taking care of each other on a more close, basis. But there's obviously not all communities are self-sustaining in the resources that they have available. So we're going to need, a network and outside resources. And I don't know what transportation, communication, all that stuff is going to look like moving forward. I don't know what's going to happen with the future of things. It might be limited. It could be. Like I'm almost like, I don't want to say it, but I feel like it's going to be very limited, like to the point where we might not even be relying on our phones anymore. I don't know. And I don't know what the energy that's going to replace that is going to look like. And I haven't really tuned into that or channeled it or whatever, heard anyone else channel on those kind of wavelengths. But anyway, that's what I feel for this social credit score, is exactly what it is currently, just used in a more conscious way in the new earth, by conscious people, not looking to out certain people. Like right now, all the homeless Chinese that are sleeping, the kids sleeping on the street, not kids, but college age, whatever, I call them kids, sleeping on the street because they're literally told, like, they're cut off. The social credit system cut them off, and they have nowhere to go, nothing to do. They can't work because they can't earn money, because they can't get paid, because their banks refuse to do business with them because their social credit score is so low. Like literally, it's bad, and that's a system of oppression. That's punitive. And that's another thing, is that, like, to answer like both questions from last night, like, it's not going to be even based on, like, these checks and balances that I'm talking about aren't based on punitive measures. They're just based on guidance, basically. Guidance by awakened, aware consciousness, conscious people. So, if drop it in the comments if you'd like further elaboration on that. And I feel like there's a lot more I can say, but these videos are just eating up my storage space, so I don't want to run out. But the more you transfer them, it just takes more time, and you run the risk of them getting corrupted and all that too. So, like, I don't want this to go much further. I feel like I'll get to the point where I'm just starting to sound like, where I'm starting to go back over things and sound like a broken record. As much as I love talking about this stuff, I wasn't going to make more coffee. Do you think I should? I would really enjoy it, because I barely got I don't feel like right now it would be aligned for me to make more coffee, because I got my message out there. I'm running out of storage space. If I had more coffee, I'd want to do more videos. I feel like I should do more videos, but my storage space, and I've already had my one coffee for the day. If I keep having 2 coffees every day, that will contribute to an excess. These are all things that we can consider in the new earth, is that we're not going to have eating disorders that'll make us want 2 or 3 croissants at a go, or need a grande super Florida man size. Like when I was in Florida, holy shit, they had Florida man size. It was like 32 ounces. You're like, holy fuck. But anyway, we're not going to need that kind of thing. A tall will be fine for the experience and the enjoyment of it. I can't wait until we're living this reality in our society, when we can be so free to do whatever the hell we're compelled to do, whatever we want. Just follow your bliss and just do it. Just do whatever it is to help humanity. Make that special belt or whatever, hat, knit a scarf, like whatever you want to do. Your contribution is appreciated in the New Earth collective consciousness. So with that, I'm going to end this, and we have so much to think about and ponder on and just expand on. It's such an exciting topic. I will be back for more, and until then, I always say like and subscribe, because if I don't, people usually tend to forget, but I know that the enlightened people that are watching this already have. So I love you for it, and never stop spreading your light.